This video tutorial will show you how to use the e-exam settings on the settings panel of the QBgenerator Part-66 Exam Generator. It will show you how to configure your e-exam output so it displays exactly how you want it. It will also show you how the examinee can log into the exam page to take an exam, either with an auto-generated password or with their own password. The e-exam settings is the third panel on the settings page, located below the exam general settings and the printed exam settings. It is necessary that you configure the e-exam settings before the e-exam is taken. Any changes to the configuration take effect as soon as the examinees log in to take the exam. When you are happy with the configuration of the e-exam, you can leave the settings exactly as they are, and they will apply to all future exams also. Remember to click Save Changes after you make any changes to the e-exam configuration settings. For this tutorial, we have already generated an e-exam. We show the examinees page here, alongside the settings panel, so you can see how the change of settings will affect the output. The examinees page will look similar, whether you are using the QB app on Android or iPad tablets, or a kiosk browser on a Windows desktop or laptop, such as the Safe Exam browser, as recommended. First, we decide how the examinee's password will be managed. When the password setting is set to auto, the QB system generates a unique single-use password for the examinee. This unique single-use password is found on the exam attendance sheet. You need to provide the examinee with both the examinee number and their unique single-use password before they can log in to take their exam. This is the most secure access method when using a desktop or laptop for the exams. This setting is recommended for your official Part-66 exams. If you set the password setting to manual, the examinee manages their own password. They use the same password for this and all future exams. To set the password, the examinee must type their examinee number, then, without entering any password, click Login. A new Confirm Password window will appear. The examinee must enter their preferred password, then retype it to confirm, then click the Login button. The same password will then be used for all future exams. This method of login is less secure than the auto setting, but is ideal for practice or mock exams that your trainees may be doing in an uncontrolled environment, such as from their home, if your QB installation is available on the World Wide Web. If, at any time in the future, the examinee should forget his or her password, the administrator can delete the existing password from the examinee's profile page. Thereafter, the examinee can reset a new password. If your examinees are using Android or iPad tablets to take the exams, you should set the access to QR code. This will disable the password button, and it will switch the system to the use of a QR code. The QR code will be found on the exam attendance sheet. When using the QR code, no password is required. The examinee must point the tablet's camera at the QR code. The tablet will log in the examinee directly to the exam. This method of login is a highly secure method. You must also decide how the e-exam will be started. When the clock start setting is set to examinee, the examinee will start their own exam by clicking the Start Exam button on the timer. The Start Exam button is available only after the examinee has read and agreed, by ticking the Agree box, their instructions and conditions. Thus, there may be a few seconds difference between the starting of the exam by each examinee in the class. However, the time allowed is managed on the examinee's terminal, and each examinee will have their full permitted time allowed. When the clock start setting is set to admin, a timer will appear on the administrator's panel. This will show on the respective exam page, in the results per question screen. When the administrator clicks the Start Exam button, all the examinees' exams will commence simultaneously. The allowed time for all examinees is controlled on the administrator's server computer. This setting should be used only when you have a hardwired network, or a very strong Wi-Fi network. Occasional interruptions or breaks in the Wi-Fi signal can result in slight differences in the time allowed from one examinee to another. The instructions and conditions can be edited. You can set these using the pre-exam text pop-up. Enter your list of instructions and conditions, and any other information that you want the examinee to know before they start their exam. Click Save and close the pop-up when done. Each examinee is required to tick the checkbox before they can commence the exam. After the instructions and conditions have been agreed, and the timer is started, the exam questions will show, and the time allowed begins to count down on the timer. The display format of the questions has several options that you can configure. Setting the Q display to single will set the exam to show just one question at a time on the screen. A progress table is displayed at the bottom right of the page. And a progress bar is displayed at the bottom of the page. The examinee can skip questions, and come back to them later. And they can change their response to any previously answered question. When the examinee has answered all of the questions, a Mark Exam button is displayed. When you set the Q display to all of the exam questions show on the screen at the same time. The examinee can scroll up and down through the questions, answering them as required. No progress table or progress bar is required. The Mark Exam button is at the bottom of the page. The Mark Exam button is disabled until all questions have been answered by the examinee. If the examinee clicks the Mark Exam button when one or more questions have not been answered, the QB will instruct the examinee to return, to answer the unanswered questions. Next, we will look at the function of the Q order, or question order setting. When the Q order setting is set to serial, the exam questions will appear in the sequential order in which they exist in the database. They are grouped by their subsection, each subsection displays in numerical order. Each examinee of the class has the questions in exactly the same serial order. When you set the Q order button to random, the display of the questions is shuffled, or randomized. Each examinee in the class has the same set of questions, but each has them displayed in a randomized different order. This randomization works on both settings of the Q display, single, or all. Note that when the question order is randomized, the subsection header will appear multiple times, because the QB must display the subsection to which each question belongs. This means that the overall display of questions appears somewhat disordered. However, the subsection titles can be switched off, or hidden, as we shall see in just a moment. Note that the three answers of each question are always shuffled. This means that for any given question, one examinee has the three answers in a different and random order from that of another examinee. This is the case whether the Q order is set to serial or random. The randomization of the three answers is always on, it is not an optional feature. Next, we look at the subsection setting, and the Q level setting. These can be used to switch on or off the subsection headings and or the question level displays. You can switch both to show, or both to hide, or have one at hide and the other at show. The Show Post-Exam buttons, Result Percentage, and the breakdown work together. These let you set what you want the examinee to see after they have answered all of the questions and click the Mark Exam button. If you do not want them to see any result at all, set the result % to hide. Note that the breakdown button is disabled when the result percentage button is set to hide. In this condition, the examinee's responses are entered into the database, but they are not displayed to the examinee at this time. You can optionally set a custom message to display to the examinee after the exam, using the post-exam text pop-up. When you set the result % to show, the QB will display the results of the exam, in %. This is displayed immediately after the examinee has clicked the Mark Exam button. You can optionally set the breakdown to show. In this condition, as well as showing the result %, the QB will also display a comprehensive breakdown of the questions, those which are answered correctly, and those which are answered incorrectly. This setting is not recommended for your official Part 66 exams, but it may be useful for practice or mock exams. This concludes the tutorial on the e-exam settings.